We're going to look at finding polynomial roots. A polynomial root is basically an x-intercept where it crosses the x-axis. Now, the first thing before we find them is we're going to find our possible roots. This doesn't mean these are all the roots, but these are possible roots for our polynomial. How we're going to do this is we're going to take our coefficient for our leading term and for our constant value. And what it is it's all the factors of d, our constant value, divided by all the factors of a. So when we look at our first one, it's really easy because our a is 1, and if we divide something by 1, it doesn't change. So we're basically just looking at all of our factors of 8. So that would be plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 4, plus or minus 8. Those are all the possible roots for this polynomial. Now, looking at letter B, we're going to do the same thing. It's a little bit more difficult because it's all the factors of 3 and all the factors of 4. So just if we kind of briefly look at 3, that would be 1 and 3. All the factors of 4, that would be 1, 2, and 4. So we're going to write all of those numbers down. For the first one, it would be plus or minus 1, because 1 divided by 1 is 1. Plus or minus 3, because 3 divided by 1 is 3. Plus or minus 1/2, plus or minus 3/2. Then I also have plus or minus 1/4 and plus or minus 3/4. Now, if we're looking at the next one, 12 is a little difficult because there's a lot of factors of 12. So if we're trying to find them, it's all the factors of 12 divided by all the factors of 3. 12 would be plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 3, plus or minus 4, plus or minus 6, plus or minus 12. Then we're going to divide all of them by 3. So plus or minus 1/3, plus or minus 2/3. Now, 3/3 is 1. We already have 1, so I'm not going to write it twice. Plus or minus 4/3. 6/3 is 2, which we have, and 12/3 is 4, which we already have. So those would be all of our possible roots. Now, we're going to take that information, and what we're going to do is we're going to find all of our real zeros. Now, when we're trying to find all of our real zeros, what we're going to do is we're going to go for our plus or minus factors of 10, 1, 2, 5, and 10. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick one of the numbers. Now, I'm going to use synthetic division. So I'm going to use my coefficients 1, -4, -7, and 10. And I'm going to pick a number, let's say 1. So if I bring down the 1, that's a 1. -3, that's -3. This is -10, -10, and it works. So that means that when I'm finding my zeros, I'm setting it equal to 0. 1 0 is 1, so the factored form would be x minus 1. And then what we have is x squared minus 3x minus 10. Now, because this is a quadratic, I'm going to factor it. Two numbers that multiply together give me -10, add up to -3 would be -5 and 2. So I have x minus 1, x minus 5, x plus 2. So all my zeros would be 1, 5, and -2. And that would be my answer. Now for letter B, this time it's a little bit more difficult because what I'm looking for is all my factors of 9 divided by all my factors of 4. So in this case, I might end up with a fraction. What I'm going to do is I'm going to guess 1 again. And so I have 4, -8, -15, and 9. So this is 4, 4, -4, -4, -19. I know it's not going to work right away, so I know that my answer is not 1. So what I have to do is I have to pick another number that's either a factor of 9 divided by a factor of 4, and let's say it's 3. So 4, that gives me 12. That's 4. That gives me 12. That's -3. That gives me -9. So it worked. That means that x minus 3, because that would be our 0, and we have 4x squared plus 4x minus 3 equals 0. So I'm going to multiply the 4, the -3, -12, and 4. So it would be 6 and -2. I divide each of them by 4, and I get -1/2 and 3/2. So I have x minus 3. I have 2x plus 3. I have 2x minus 1, and it's equal to 0. So my zeros are 3, -3/2, and 1/2. Now, looking at the next one. With this one right here, it's all the factors of 6 divided by all the factors of 1. This is much easier than before. So the first one that I'm going to pick is 1 again. It doesn't always have to be 1. And so when I bring down the 1, I get 1, 3, 3, -2, -2, -6, and -6. Now, because this is a quartic, this now is a cubic, and I can't factor it with the normal factoring method. So I have to do it one more time. So I have to pick another number. I'm going to guess -3. So I bring down the 1, -3, 0, 0, -2, and -3 is 6. So it worked. So what I have is x minus 1, because it's the opposite, x plus 3, and x squared minus 2. Now, x squared minus 2 is actually x squared minus 2 equals 0. So I add the 2, and I take the square root. Notice that that was not one of the possible roots, because possible doesn't mean all the roots. So when I'm looking at my zeros, I have 1 and -3, which we knew. And then I also have plus or minus square root of 2. Okay, looking at our last one, it's all the factors of 10 over all the factors of 2. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to guess 1 again. And I have 2, 2, -3, -3, -7. I know it's not going to work. So that means I have to choose another one. I'm going to guess fraction this time. I'm going to guess 5/2. 2, that would be 5. That would be 0. That would be 0, -4, and that's -10. Now, if you remember from last time, whenever you have something that's divisible by 2, because this binomial is 2x plus 5, this is where synthetic division falls apart. We have to remember, because there's a 2 there, we have to divide each of the terms by 2. So this is really x squared minus 2. Now, this looks a little bit familiar because it's similar to what we did last time. So that means that our answers are -5/2. And if you remember from the last problem, plus or minus the square root of 2.